In today's session, we'll talk about our organization's cybersecurity policy and we'll have a deep dive into the executive summary. And this is to explain why it is important and why it makes sense. In creating processes for changes and also the different types of standard, we need to ensure that we have an alignment to a particular framework. The framework chosen is the NIST Information Security Framework, and to achieve this, we need to ensure that we have stakeholder and departmental leaders engagement, but we also need to ensure that we have all these great reports from our SOC 2 Type 2 and look at what the audit says and how can we improve them within this process. By doing this, I seek to create a process for not only compiling and creating review boards and approval to the CISO, but have a systematic way for implementation and continuous review. The goal is our organization will align to the NIST framework, especially around the security and privacy controls for information systems and organization. I need to ensure that throughout the whole organization, every department, we are benchmarking each standard to not only meet the NIST guidelines, but also ensure that we are using the great assessments like the maturity IT assessment as a source in establishing and aligning to the different tiers. All profiles for key stakeholders and departmental leads should be created in a working session that is collaborative, and the goal is to drive at the heart of regulatory statutes. What is the unique insight into this? The IT Strategic Initiative is aimed at risk reduction, remediation, and it will be based on that continuous improvement around the NIST framework. In creating the framework, we need to ensure that we are sharpening our lenses on our risk and gap analysis and looking to have a seamless transition into our global security policy. As such, a number of key departments and more would have business awareness, business continuity plans at their level, and at the senior level will roll up a company-wide education program that seeks not only to educate but to drive the principle of these initiatives. It is one thing to create a security framework, but it's very important that we look at aligning all our processes to that cause. From key areas in regulatory compliance, security framework integration, alignment, we need to go through the fiber of the organization and look at procurement, strategic IT plans, employee expertise, resource allocations, business continuity, and among many to support that singular intent. This is a diagram of one of our local-based firms, and it shows the interconnected nature that was first posed within our infrastructure. Within our organization, we need to ensure that we are not only meeting regulatory statutes, but we need to ensure that we have a malleable security posture that can be adjusted, increased, and tailored to our unique roles. At the same time, too, we need to have a continuous process, not only to monitor them, but to understand the key metric and dashboards of our system. So using tools like IPS, IDS, and a number of key defense and EDR tools is important for us to remain secure, know what is happening, be able to remediate, control, and contain in a systematic manner. That is key for our security posture. With today's emerging threats, we need to ensure that we have key ways that not only reduce our risks, but also make our business continuity plans robust. But if we do that, it gives us a number of key ways where we can use remediation strategies that are not only outlined, but through an awakened session, we can build it into our business continuity plan, test it, have that continuous feedback loop, but also ensure that our annual and semi-annual risk assessments, gap analysis feed into it in order for us not only to get to that point of that security posture, but we understand the key elements from a governance perspective that we have to do to tie back to it in order for us to be consistent. One of the key elements that everybody would ask is why, the how. In choosing a security framework, I am recommending the NIST framework as it allows us to create a customizable plan that not only meets federal guidelines, but also builds elements that are tailored within the NIST structure. And NIST is a great starting point for our organization to layer on, just like we layer defense, other components to it to make it more robust. For example, we work primarily out of the state of New York, and we come under the NYDFS state regulation. As such, we have to meet annual attestation requirements. In having the NIST as our base platform, we can add elements that are required by the NYDFS regulation in order to make us compliant. As we emerge to work in the European Union for the future needs of the business, changing our assessments, for example, having an ISO plus SOC 2 would gear us to get ready for that emerging change and allow us to know what deficiency we have in order to meet them in a continuous process. As we use the NIST for our security framework, we pull elements of it. Having a security response and incident handling plan not only seeks to remediate, but has elements to ensure that we identify, we detect, prepare, and analyze any containment and eradication of incidents. And we need to ensure that we have that feedback loop that creates that post-incident plan, whether it is from threat engineers or threat analysis or by looking at a third-party vendor programs. There are elements of business, IT, governance, risk, controls, and standards that are involved in this process. And within the incident response plan, we need to ensure that we have key ways to stay modern and malleable to respond to these emerging threats. As we wrap up this session, the digital spectrum is an ever-changing, ever-evolving area that has increased several great opportunities for the company, but at the same time, it has also opened us up to several threats. As we work in the industry, we need to ensure that we are using the NIST framework and tailor it to organizations' use to ensure that we cover key areas and more. It is important that we look through every aspect of our organization and make sure that we align our processes, standards, controls, and governance, documentation, and procedures to this guiding principle. I believe that the hallmark of an information security policy is one that is not only malleable, but is able to evolve with the industry and include significant benchmarks that raise the security posture of the firm today and tomorrow. Thank you.